Banachari Jaya Sundari Jaya Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Sundari Jaya Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Sundari Jaya Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Sundari Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Gaura Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bol.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 There's a scarf on the chair just behind you.
Yes.
Yeah. That's mine, clothes.
Is that yours?
Yes. Disappear. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, which is entitled Creation, chapter 3, text number 12, we start with. Chapter 3 is entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations. And there's some very foundational verses in this chapter. Ete chamsa kala pumsa krishnastu bhagavan swaya indirai vyakulam lokam mritayanti. That Krishna, he is the Swayam Bhagavan. He's the original. All of these other incarnations, they are considered Bhagavan, but just as a candle has light, the original transmits that light to the other candles, and they can also give light. But there's one original, the source of all the others. So Krishna, he's the original source of all the incarnations. I haven't got my glasses. Anyway. So text number 12.
You have your blood in the car?
In the car. In the glove box.
I'll get it.
In the glove box. Here's the keys. In my car.
Your car is here?
The Subaru, yeah.
Okay.
In the glove box, thank you.
The new chocolate number.
Tata Saptama
Saptam
Akutyam
Akutyam
Ruchi Yagno
Yuchiragno
Vayajata
Vyajata
Sadyamadhyai
Sayamadhyay
Suragunai
Saragunay
Apat Swayam
Apatsvayam
Bhavantanam
Bhavantaram
Tatasapatama Akutyam
Sayamadhyam
Ruchi Yagno
Yuchiragno
Vyajayuta
Vyajayata
Sadyamadhyai
Sayamadhyay
Suraganai
Saragunay
Apatswayam
Apatsvayam
Bhuvantanam
Bhuvantaram
Tata Saptama Akutyam
Tatasarunamakyam
Ruche Yagno Vayajata
Yuchiragno Vyajata
Sayamadhyai Suraganai
Sayamadhyay Suragunay
Apat Swayam Bhavantanam.
Apatsvayam Bhuvantaram
One last time now. Tata Saptama Akutyam
Tatasarunamakyam
Ruche Yagno Vajayata
Ruchiragno Vyajata
Sayamadhyai Suraganai
Sayamadhyay Suragunay
Apat Swayam Bhavantaram.
Apatsvayam Bhuvantaram
It's amazing how imperfect senses can just give you a wrong hearing. Tata Saptama Akutyam
Tatasaptamakutyam
Ruche Yagno Vajayata
Ruchiragno Vyajata
Sayamadhyai Suraganai
Sayamadhyay Suragunay
Apat Swayam Bhuvantaram.
Apatsvayam Bhuvantaram
ततः सप्तम आकुत्याम
ततः सप्तम आकुत्याम
ऋषिर्यज्ञो विजायत
ऋषिर्यज्ञो विजायत
सायामाद्यै सुरगणे
सायमाद्यै सुरगणे
आपत् स्वयंभुवान्तरम्
आपस्वयंभुवान्तरम्
तथा सप्तम अप्युतम
ततः सप्तम आकुत्याम
चेर्यज्ञो भयाजयत
ऋषिर्यज्ञो विजायत
सायमध्ये सुरागणे
सायमाद्यै सुरगणे
आपात्
स्वयंभुवन्तरम्
तथा सप्तमम् उकत्यम्
ततः सप्तम आकुत्याम
रुचिर्यज्ञो वियाजत
ऋषिर्यज्ञो विजायत
सायमाद्य सुरागणे
सायमाद्यै सुरगणे
अपात् स्वयं भुवान्तरम्
आपस्वयंभुवान्तरम्
तथा सप्तम आकुत्याम
ततः सप्तम आकुत्याम
रुचिर्यज्ञोऽभ्यजायत
ऋषिर्यज्ञो विजायत
सायमाद्यै सुरगणे
सायमाद्यै सुरगणे
आपत् स्वयंभुवान्तरम्
आपस्वयंभुवान्तरम्
ततः सप्तम आहुत्याम्
ततः सप्तम आकुत्याम
रुचिर्यज्ञो व्याजयत्
ऋषिर्यज्ञो विजायत
स यामायते सुरगुणे
सायमाद्यै सुरगणे
आपत् स्वानुभावात्तरम्
आपस्वयंभुवान्तरम्
तथा सप्तम अंकुत्यम
ततः सप्तम आकुत्याम
रुचिर्यज्ञो विजायत
ऋषिर्यज्ञो विजायत
सायमाद्य सुरगणे
सायमाद्यै सुरगणे
अपत् स्वयंभुवान्तरम्
आपस्वयंभुवान्तरम्
तथा सप्तम आहुत्याम्
ततः सप्तम आकुत्याम
रुचिर्यज्ञो व्याजयत
ऋषिर्यज्ञो विजायत
सायमाद्यै सुरागणे
सायमाद्यै सुरगणे
अपत् स्वयं भुवान्तरम्
आपस्वयंभुवान्तरम्
Tataha,
ततः
after that, Saptame,
Saptame,
the seventh in the line,
the seventh in the line,
Akutyam,
Akutyam,
in the womb of Akuti,
in the womb of Akuti,
Ruchihe,
Ruchihe,
by Prajapati Ruchi,
by Prajapati Ruchi,
Jagyaha,
Yajna,
the Lord's incarnation as Yagya,
the Lord's incarnation is Yajna.
Abhyajayata,
Abhyajayata,
advented,
advented,
Saha,
Saha,
he,
he,
Yama Adyai,
Yamadhyay,
with Yama and others,
with Yama and others,
Suraganahi,
Suraganahe,
with demigods,
with demigods,
Apat,
Apat,
ruled,
ruled,
Swayambhuva Antaram,
Swayambhuva Antaram,
the reign of Swayambhuva Manu.
The
the
reign
reign
of
of Swayambhuva Manu.
The seventh incarnation was Yagya, the son of Prajapati Ruchi, and his wife Akuti. He controlled the period during the reign of Swayambhuva Manu and was assisted by demigods such as his son Yama. The administrative posts occupied by the demigods for maintaining the regulations of the material world are offered to the highly elevated pious living beings. When there is a scarcity of such pious living beings, the Lord incarnates himself as Brahma, Prajapati, Indra, etc. and takes up the charge. During the period of Swayambhuva Manu, the present period is of Vaivasvata Manu, there was no suitable living being who could occupy the post of Indra, the king of the Indraloka, heaven planet. The Lord himself at that time became Indra, assisted by his own sons like Yama and other demigods. Lord Yagya ruled the administration of the universal affairs. The business of administration, to take up the post, to act as a leader. When I was invited to act as the in charge at the New Gokul project, the outgoing administrator, he gave me some words of advice. He said to be an administrator, a leader, means you need to have a big head. And he said for two reasons. The big head, you need to have a big brain in order to work out all of the things that are going on, and you also need a big head as a big target for the people to aim their kicks at. So it's a thankless task, and it's a big task to lead, to guide. So you have to be qualified. Yagya, an incarnation of Krishna, he took up the job because there was no qualified living entities at the time. Just like Lord Brahma, he's got 4 heads in this universe. He needs that many heads to administrate this small universe. When the universe gets bigger and gets more problems, then you need more heads. You need more thinking capacity, more capability to keep things together. You notice the really developed thinkers, they just have the capacity to remember and put things together, and it's like a computer. It's like a full-on computer. So even with having a computer, with having that facility there, you need to know how to navigate. So you've got to have intelligence. Prabhupada, he told Giriraj Maharaj, after he asked him the question, how will this movement go on? And Giriraj Maharaj said, well, we have to be sincere. And Prabhupada said, no, proper organisation and intelligence has to be there. It has to be smart people heading up the administration, leading. And without that intelligence, then if somebody's occupying a post, they're unqualified. We had construction going on in Mayapur, and even a bricklayer. We had one bricklayer, he kept on giving us problems because he couldn't lay the bricks straight. They were always leaning and something like that. And we were saying, why can't he get on his case, work it out? And the head man was saying, well, he's a master, he's a qualified person. And later, when he left the job, we found him driving a rickshaw. He was not qualified. So if you work with qualified people, things go smoothly. It's so much easier. So if you've got a proper quality head, a quality in charge, then you can have faith, you can have confidence, because things will get done properly. And I remember seeing at the 40th anniversary celebration of the Radha Gopinath, the administration, the organisers there, they were glorified afterwards for making such a smooth, such a sweet, such a lovely arrangement for the festival. Everybody was happy, everybody was satisfied, everybody was peaceful. The organisers were freaking out. They were constantly looking, double looking, working out what can go wrong in this situation. This shouldn't be here. What has to be shifted there? Just working overtime to guard against anything going wrong. That's a good administrator. That's a good organizer. There's a Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. So to assume like that, rather than to sit back and think, okay, everything's all right, she'll be right, I don't have to do anything, I can just enjoy, this is antithetical to being a proper organizer, a proper administrator. So it requires the best, the biggest brain, the most qualified, and if nobody's there to do it, then Krishna will step in and do it himself. So in this instance, Yagya, and he got his assistants, Yamaraj. Yamaraj is also invested with the same potency of omniscience. He can understand what's going on. He has that inside vision of what's happening with everybody. So they then can predict, they can foresee the future. Trikala Gya. They can see and they can act according to time, place and circumstance. They're in tune. So this is what's required in order to effectively administrate. So this particular incarnation, Yagya, during the Swayambhuva Manu, they appear at different times. Sometimes there's the appearance of Parikat Maharaj, the appearance of there's different stories, different elements describing it. Parikat Maharaj, he was cursed and then he sat down on the bank of the Ganges for 7 days to hear Sukadeva Goswami speak. In another narrative, he built a palace, built a castle, and he made a small entrance at the top, and everything was above there, so it was practically impenetrable. There was guards there. There's no way to enter. He put so much precautions up to avoid Takshaka coming to come and bite him. So it's the same person, but in different millenniums. They perform the post. They come back and they perform the same pastimes. For instance, in the pastimes of Lord Ram, Jambavan, Ram was served by a whole lot of different monkeys. Jambavan was like a bear. So he was older. He'd been present in many pastimes of Lord Ram. The pastimes, they continue. They rotate different universes. Just like now Krishna, he's no longer visible in this planet, in this universe. He's performing the same pastimes in another universe. So Jambavan, he was going, searching for Sita. Where is Sita? And the monkeys, they were travelling along a little path, and Jambavan made the comment, "Oh, last time we went on the high road, we didn't go on the low road." So there's different variations. Parikat Maharaj, he was protecting himself, he didn't protect himself. He accepted the curse, and he was able to acknowledge it as Krishna's mercy, that he was going to go back to be with Krishna as soon as possible. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is relating different pastimes at different times. For instance, at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, at the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the first part of the Srimad Bhagavatam relates a lot of the events which occurred in the Mahabharata, which are narrated in the Mahabharata. So there's variation. We may wonder, well, hang on, is this right or is this right? And we might get befuddled. We always we give the greater credit to Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam in the chronology of the time chronology, the sequence of events, Srimad Bhagavatam is the final presentation. After Vyasadeva spoke and penned the Mahabharata, then his mature contemplation, his mature understanding was manifested in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana. It's the Kaitava. It kicks out any cheating religion. Kaitava Dharma, any cheating religion. So it's cut to the essence, the Sharanam, the essence of the truth. Just surrender to Krishna. Krishna is the supreme. We have to understand our relationship with Krishna. We can understand our relationship with other aspects of Krishna, other parts and parcels of Krishna, but the ultimate relationship is described Savadamam Prityagya Mamekam Shanam Vraja Ham Tvam Savapapapyo Mokshayashyami Masu Chaha. Abandon all other sub-religions, varieties of conception, and just place ourselves at Krishna's lotus feet. Understand that's our actual position. We've got big capabilities, we've got small capabilities, we've got these skills. They're not ours. Krishna has given them to us. It's borrowed plumes. So we always submit and say, thank you, Krishna. In Mayapur, there was a school behind us, and every morning the kids in their assembly, as their daily training, they would recite different slokas. The invocation to Sri Upanishad was one that I can remember. And the final thing they said was, thank you, Krishna, for everything. So sweet. When you hear the philosophy from the mouth of a child, it just softens the heart, really endears you, because they might not be understanding, but they're speaking it. In due course of time, they will understand. Children, they go to the Gurukul and they learn slokas. They can have thousands of slokas stacked away in there, but they don't understand. The intellect hasn't developed, so they can't understand, they can't explain them, but still they've got them, and they can repeat them, and within the slokas themselves, they're potent. Uttama sloka, Krishna is known as Uttama sloka. So they're potent, and they give you hear the words of the authorities from the mouths of these these souls who've actually imbibed it. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta or one of the acharyas made a comment that it wouldn't matter if all of the literatures in the world were destroyed, just like there's a lamentation that those great libraries in Alexandria, which contain so much information, they got destroyed in fire. And this is the plot of the demoniac. They destroy the intelligence. The Russians characterized by a particular nature, because most of the intelligentsia have been assassinated. They've been killed because they were threats to the control, the power of the demoniacs. So that they control information, they control power, they give you propaganda, they give you like a distorted perspective on the truth. So we don't care for anything else. We don't listen to anything else. We don't hear anything else. We refer to the Srimad Bhagavatam. And even if all of the books, even if the technology, the media is destroyed, if there's one person, one pure-hearted devotee who has memorized, then the whole thing can be started up again. It's there. It's retained the qualities of the advanced devotees, or not necessarily that. One particular quality of a developed soul is what's called Shruti Dara. Shruti Dara. They can hear, and then they can remember. They can repeat. It's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was known as walking encyclopedia. And it's not the photographic memory, but it's just that it stays with you. And if you learn a sloka, if you learn something, if you repeat it 3 times, then you can keep it. So you get some realization. You should go and repeat it. Find 3 different people and then repeat that. Because often, even just to remember somebody's name is difficult in this day and age. Excuse me, what was your name again? And people who are constantly meeting people, like Korma. People would come up to Korma and he would say, and they would say, "Oh, you remember me?" And he'd say, "Yeah, can you just remind me of where it was that we met?" And then slowly the picture will come clearer. So there's different techniques for remembrance. And nowadays, the recording devices, they're considered to be our Kali Yuga memory. That we can hear a class. Often we would hear a class and we'd go out and, what did you hear? What did you remember? Oh, there was one verse, one sloka. It's just so small what we can retain. So to listen to recording, we can revisit what was presented and we can get fresher and fresher meanings. So to have that capacity to cling on to grasp, to put something into the database and then to recall that's very, 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 how would you say, it's a great resource for humanity. So many things get lost in due course of time. They get watered down. So to have the ability to hear, and I was noting that when we were reciting the sloka, there's different, like in music, it's taken me almost 40 years to learn how to play the cartels properly. In the early days, I'd be playing in kirtan and Korma would be leading. I was stupidly playing the wampus, so they were making a lot of noise. So he'd turn around, and the first time he would just raise his eyebrows at me. He wasn't satisfied. He had a very precise sense of timing. And the second time, he turned around and he said, "I hope you're wearing your asbestos underwear." He was about to burn me to ashes with his glance. The third time he just turned around and grabbed the wampus out of my hand. He couldn't tolerate it. He said he'd been cursed. Maybe in his previous life he was a Bengali or he was a musician. So to have that ability as a musician, timing, rhythm. So to be able to recite the slokas, if you get the meter, you get the, and then you fit the syllables into the meter. So it takes practice. And for me to be clear on what's being sung, I've got to close my eyes because I get distracted. I can hear the mridanga, I close my eyes, and then that sounds sweet, it's in tune, but otherwise I get lost and just it's like trying, as an artist, people they can just, things flow from their pen or flow from their paintbrush. We used to be involved with painting, so we would have a line. I can't draw breath to save myself. I can't draw a straight line. I'm going to draw, and I want to draw like that, but the hand goes the other way. So we're not in control of our senses, we're not in control of our minds, so we have to try and limit the input in order to be able to absorb, to hear. And it's described in some of the verses here, the proper attitude for hearing. So we come to class and we want to take home from the class something of benefit for us. We have to have the right attitude. From the very beginning, we come, okay, I'm coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class. Oh, another one ticked off. I was in Mongoladi. Yeah, I was. You do your sadhana sheet. You apply yourself to the roster. I was there. Where were you? Was your mind there? Were you conscious? When you were paying your obeisances, were you aware of what each word means? Namaha. My friend Mahotsa, we had to put his mother's ashes in the Ganga. And initially we'd spoken with Jananivas if he would come along and be the pujari. And he was busy. So I said, all right, I'll do it. I had some experience of doing those final rites. But then after a while, suddenly there was Mahotsa and myself, and then Jananivas turned up. And obviously he's been involved in this procedure many times, so he's very expert. So he asked, what was the name of your mother? And was she a devotee? And Mahotsa said, no, her name was Norma. So he immediately said, Namaha. He found some spiritual way to spiritualize that process. Namaha means offering obeisances. I offer my respects. So when we're offering obeisances, are we conscious? And there's ways, it's like we were talking about respect. In traditional families, you offer respect to your parents. You understand how much you owe to your parents. So you show that respect by going and touching their feet, or making a motion to bow down to their feet. So when you're paying your obeisances, there's panchanga nyaya, not panchanga nyaya, panchanga dandavat. There's different types of, you can't pay your obeisances with one hand. You've got the beads in your hand, so you've got to work out how not to put your beads on the floor. So what are you doing when you're paying your obeisances? Are you submitting yourself at the lotus feet of your spiritual master, at the lotus feet of Krishna? Are you conscious? Are you applying yourself and getting... So same thing in class, in Bhagavatam class. Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna. That verse comes up at the end of this chapter. Krishna... Krishna swa dhamma pogate dhamma gyana adivisaha kalo nashta vishamesha puranako dhanoditaha. That this Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in this age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. So this is where the light comes from. This is where Krishna is manifesting religion, knowledge, etc. So we're submitting ourselves, we've taken the effort to come and to try and get some benefit. So the hearing, we can hear in the mood of, well, what will I learn? What is being spoken today that is significant, particularly for me? What is there that's relevant for me that's being spoken, not just in a general sense? Because the end of the Bhagavatam class, the nicest part of the Bhagavatam class, is the question and answers, the exchange, the interaction. And that's when we get the opportunity to make a fool of ourselves and open up our mouth and speak. Instead, a fool is exposed when they open their mouth and they start to speak. You can look good, you can be a big Mridanga player and a big leader or something, but what have you got to say? Who cares what you can do? What have you got to say? And if you don't want to be exposed as a fool, keep your mouth shut. Don't speak. But that's the sweetest time. There's nothing wrong with exposing ourselves as a fool. We are all fools. Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of God, he was told by his spiritual master, "You're a fool. You think you can understand Vedanta Sutra? Just chant Hare Krishna." So one should understand one's position. One should not act as a fool before one's spiritual master. One should understand that one is a fool, and therefore one will not try and challenge one's spiritual master. One will not try and compete with one's spiritual master. One will not try and display one's wisdom, one's erudition. One will properly situate oneself in order to get the most benefit. If we don't recognize how small we are and how exalted everybody else is, in some extent or another, how can we benefit from the association of all these amazing souls, these rare souls that we're in association with, we come in contact with? There are scriptures, 100 types of fools. In my family, in my home life before I was a devotee, on the back of the toilet door there was a cartoon which had 10 types of fools. In English language they're known as the bumpkin, the pea-brain, the dunderhead, different things like this. So it's clear that you need, and there are anti-religious people. We need to understand what there is the Dharma Dwaji, the people who are waving the flag of religion. So we need to understand what is a fool. And there's different types of fools. There's listed fools. Prabhupada said there's different types of intelligence. Who knows the 4 types of intelligence?
Busy fool, lazy fool, busy intelligent, lazy intelligent.
Okay. So which is the worst?
The busy fool.
The busy fool. And which is the best?
The lazy intelligent.
The lazy intelligent. Very good. Yeah, the busy fool. It's like in the Upanishad described to be a serpent. A serpent can be very attractive. But if a serpent's got a jewel on his head, then he's even more attractive. And what will happen? You'll get bitten. The jewel on the head of the serpent represents learning. Somebody who's gone to university, somebody who's all smart and they've got all the credentials, the name, the letters after their name. So if they're a fool, then they're deadly. They'll take you to hell. They're the worst type of individual to hear from, to be involved with. So we need to be able to discriminate. In the land of disrespect, then everybody's your mate. You just rub shoulders with everybody. Everybody's equal. And so therefore, you take liberties. You create offences. You joke around. You make jokes at the expense of the other person. And after a while, if they're a little bit more elevated than just the common run-of-the-mill lowest common denominator, buffhead, you'll make offences. You'll offend them. So on the contrary, in the land of respect, the culture is assume that everybody is worthy of your respect. Give them the proper benefit of the doubt. Offer them respect. And then after some time, without making offences, without putting them offside, you can work out, well, where are they actually at? Are they my superior? Should I serve them? Are they of an equal level? Should I make friends with them? Or are they needing some attention? They're lesser. They haven't developed in so many fields. Should I offer them special mercy? We have to discriminate. It's not just a matter of everybody's spiritual. It's all one. That's the glory, the benefit of spiritual training, of Krishna conscious education, that we can discriminate. So the Srimad Bhagavatam can assist us, and it's amazing, by proper hearing, by having the skills and applying ourselves and preparing the proper attitude, then the hearing can be it would fructify, be fruitful hearing. It's not just in one ear and out the other. The hearing can be advantageous. And the quality of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the quality of Krishna, is that any contact is uplifting. And even if our attitude is wrong, even if we're approaching Krishna, we're chanting holy names with envy or in a derisive state of mind, then still we'll get purified. So what to say if we have the proper attitude, then the purification can be multiplied many times over, just like during the festival times, during Purushottam, during Kartik. Anything you do is magnified 1,000 times. So Srimad Bhagavatam is auspicious to be involved with, auspicious to touch. Even Prabhupada said when his books were being distributed, and to encourage the book distributors, even if they just touch the book. So the book distributors, somebody wouldn't take it, they would tap them on they would touch them with the book, understanding the benefit of being in contact. And even if you just see one syllable, if I remember we visited some house, and there was my habit was to go to the bookcase and see what was on the shelf, and there was this book that I was instantly drawn to. It was the Nectar of Devotion. It had a pink cover. It was different, and it's still there in my mind. I opened up the page, and it was like it was highlighted. The 4 words, Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. It was like it was highlighted. It had potency, and even just the printing of some of Prabhupada's books. It's alive. It's very attractive. So you get that impression. Krishna, he reciprocates. Krishna is so pleased when we touch, when we contact him through his sound vibration, through his devotees, through his prasadam. Mantra. We can, if we don't have things to offer, then mantra. When we're offering the fruit or the flower, the pushpa, then the mantra, it's the fruits of the mantras are like the fruits of our austerity. We have the mantras. Dr. Patel was walking on the beach with Prabhupada in Dr. Patel? No, it was O.B. Kapoor, Prabhupada's godbrother. And in the early days in India, before Prabhupada was manifest as the empowered Shaktilesh avatar, able to deliver the whole world, he was with O.B. Kapoor, and he was a pharmacist. So a pharmacist has to deal in formulas, like an accountant has to deal in formulas, different ways to put things together. So the pharmacist, they know formulas. So O.B. Kapoor, he asked Prabhupada, do you know a formula by which one can get love of God? So Prabhupada said, yes. And he said, well, can you tell me what it is? And he said, Trinadapi Sanichena Tarodiva Sishtana Manina Mananirtanya Kirtanya Sadahari. One should chant the holy name in a humble state of mind. If you know the key, how to unlock the truth. If you have a mantra, and if you understand the mantra, it's like the kids, they can have 2,000 slokas, 2,000 mantras in the mind, but they don't understand it. But still, the mantra itself is potent. And if you can unlock the secret of that mantra, then that's a treasure. That's something that you can offer. It's something you can give to Krishna. And Krishna will say, Krishna only, he doesn't want anything. He just wants our love. In fact, we've got nothing we can give. We have some minute independence. Minute independence. The quantity of that independence means that we can choose to love Krishna or not. If we don't want to choose to love Krishna, then it means we will take shelter of Maya, illusion, and we'll be forced to surrender in the long term. So we can choose. That's our independence. That's all we've got, to choose to surrender, to offer our love, to offer those sound vibrations. So if we've got something, it means we've got more to offer. If we don't have anything, then we're in a niggardly state, and one should lament. Guests come to our house, and at least we should offer them some sweet words and a sitting place and a glass of water and a place to rest and some food and some daksheen, some support. So if we can't do any of those things, then we should curse ourselves, we should lament. One of my friends, he committed suicide. We were in touch with him, and he came to our house, and we felt, well, we can give you shelter. Why don't you come and stay with us? You're suffering. But at the time, there just wasn't a facility. We ourselves were in such a niggardly condition that we couldn't extend ourselves beyond what we were already doing. So that's a condemnable state to be in. And one should feel how bereft of proper life one is if one cannot have at least a few things like that to offer. So it doesn't take much to offer a smile. It doesn't take much to offer a few kind words. But so many times somebody comes to your door and you no time. I'm time poor. Go away. It's not by chance that somebody's coming to your door. You can open the door and you can just a few kind words. A salesman comes to your door, and you can't sell ice to the Eskimos. It's just somebody who's been. You won't buy what they've got to sell, but you can offer them your association. You can give them some transcendental knowledge. You can give them some encouragement, because so many people they're trodden down. It's a humbling task to go and try and present and to try and sell. Prabhupada says, and in the Krishna book, it's the person who's going to offer something, they shouldn't expect to be well received. It's humbling. So in that humbling experience, somebody gives you a few kind words uplifting, and you get more encouragement. You go on, you keep on doing what you're doing, because you know that it's for the benefit of yourself, purifying, and it's for the benefit of others. So many times we were going and collecting, and after a while the Lakshmi was just coming so easily. It was just Bhagavan Maharaj, he gave a class that more comes out of your bead bag than just your finger. You're chanting your rounds, and all the energy you put into your japa, that will manifest during the day. So your business is to go and collect Lakshmi. You put all the energy into chanting, and then later it's just a matter of waving your arm in the air, and all this Lakshmi, all this support will come, because you've already liberated it by chanting your proper rounds. So we got that realization that there wasn't such a big endeavour to meet people and to inspire them to offer some of their hard-earned Lakshmi, which we would then use in Krishna's service. So the excuse that we were in need of funds, it was just a motivation that Krishna had arranged so that we would go out and give our association, spread the association, encourage people, because that's the householders, they're caught up in their business. Hopefully it's not the deep dark well under Kupam. That analogy was explained to me, the blind well was explained to me by a devotee who had an experience. He was walking across a field in India with 7 friends, and they got to the other side of the field and there was only 6. They lost one of their friends. So they went back and they looked around and they couldn't find their friend. Their friend had disappeared. So a blind well is a hole in the ground that's had grasses grown over it. So you go through the grasses, you fall down a deep well and you break your neck. Or you don't kill yourself at the time, but you call out and it's so deep nobody can hear you. So the Grihastha ashram without Krishna is described as the Andakupam, the blind well where you get lost and you disappear. You're devoured by the snake of time. You're just asleep, and you're lost. So when you go walking around, nowadays you drive and you make notes, but when you walk around and you slowly and you look and you see some light in the window and you project yourself inside. What's going on in there? Who knows what sort of nonsense is going on there in the deep dark well. So it behooves those who have got some light, those who have got some knowledge, to go and knock on the door and to go and enlighten people and to offer them some. The travelling preachers, they go door to door. Srila Prabhupada says that the Brahmanas, they should be equipped with knowledge. And the basic knowledge, which is useful in preaching, is Jyotish and health. How to live properly. Become more vegetarian. Give up your non-veg ways. Jyotish. Oh, it's an auspicious day today. So you go there, and people who were, the householders would be able to take advantage of that visiting whoever they are, because they would give knowledge. You don't need to go to a doctor. You don't need to spend money to get that information. It's classic. Drink more water. You're sick because you're dehydrated. Drink more water. Drink at the right time. Eat at the right time. We eat when you're hungry. Basic information. In Denmark, the doctors started saying, "Oh, you're sick. Go home and have a hot tea. Go home and take a rest. You don't need to take all these pills." So you go, you present that information about Jyotish or about health, Ayurveda, and then after a while, you come back again and again to the people. They'll ask, "Well, what else do you know? Can you give me some information about who am I? Where am I coming from?" And slowly, by having something to offer and people seeing the benefit, then the society will get uplifted, time by time. So the qualification of hearing and the qualification of a good disciple is that they are submissive, they are sincere, and they've got good questions, which are pertinent questions, not ridiculous questions. Often at the end of a class, a general public class, of 10 questions, 3 will be advertisements for that person's other product. 3 questions will be just to show whether or how the philosophy or our philosophy will support their philosophy. And then there might be one submissive question. I remember seeing, who's the Minister for Health? Prahlad Nandaswamy, yeah. He was giving class and he got some questions like that. And most questions he would just give a one-line answer to, just to brush it off. It was nonsense. And then a sincere question, he spoke for 15 minutes. He understood this person was sincerely asking, and then the exchange could be very, and here that person, Prabhupada was noted by his spiritual master. His main qualification was that he likes to hear. So many people were there with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. They came for his parikrams, and it was time to go and see the deity. So they all went off to go and do some tourism, some sightseeing. Prabhupada stayed because he realized how valuable was the opportunity to hear his spiritual master. And he was hearing very, very, very well, just to hear. And he claimed his only credit was that he didn't change anything that he'd heard. He just repeated what he'd heard. So to be able to hear and to understand what's being spoken, so many times our spiritual master would visit, and then afterwards we were with our godbrothers or discussing, and this was discussed. Oh, really? I didn't hear that. I missed it. In Melbourne, they put on many dramas. They say that a cultural presentation is very powerful. So before we'd even moved into the temple, we went to a Sunday feast and they had a play. It was very macabre. It was entitled, "This Was Your Life." You know the game shows? So this was your life. And the compere starts with saying, come on down, Jiva Goswami. In the next 30 seconds, you're about to have a massive heart attack. And so now we're just going to replay all the events of your life in the next 30 seconds. So he comes down and relives a whole lot of things. And the last scene is of him being offered a book. All ghastly events that happened before. His boss, anyway, ghastly things. So the last scene was him about to receive a book. The preacher had offered him a book, a second chance, and he knocked it out of the preacher's hand. And then you hear this shrieking music, Pink Floyd metal, and it gets to the point where screams start to happen. At the point where the screams are starting to happen, these two devotees who were dressed up as Yamadutas, and they were ugly. They were covered in mud, and they had sacks on them, and they were black. And the kids in the front row, they jumped back 3 rows. They were so frightened of them. So they came up, and just at the time of the scream, they put a chain around the neck of the person, and then they were ripping the soul out of the body. It was so graphic, so dramatic. So somehow or other afterwards, I managed to get in and see the replay of it. And seeing the replay, the video replay, I realised I'd missed 50% of what was going on. I was so frightened. I was so freaked out. I was so just, even at the time of initiation, my spiritual master was giving a speech, and I was just in shock. I was dumbfounded. I just couldn't take it in. So to hear, and we need the help of our God brothers, our association, other people in here. We need to hear from different angles of vision. Shakti Prabhu was describing, he's got an online class where the themes are discovery, insight, and practical application. And the response of some students are, well, they're asleep, they're bored. But just by being in that association, just by being surrounded by different people and hearing from different angles of vision, then one thing, it's called vichar. Vichar, one thing will impress upon us, and then we'll be able to follow that up. So to have the proper attitude to attend the class, to hear the class, to be thinking, how can I apply this? How is this relevant to me? What questions can I ask which will be beneficial for me, which will elicit more discussion? This is the contribution we can all make to the event of putting Srimad Bhagavatam in the middle and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. It's probably the most pleasurable activity that's available. And Krishna says that he's not in the temple, he's not in Vaikuntha. Where is Krishna? He's wherever he's being discussed. Wherever devotees are coming together, whenever they're discussing Krishna. So to discuss, which means be a fool, wear your heart on your sleeve, show where you're at. Any questions?
I want to share something, bro. The first line here it talks about demigods from maintaining the regulations of the material world. Yesterday we were hearing a very wonderful class given by His Grace Mukunda Datta Prabhu in Los Angeles. And he was describing how the demigods, they are also the deities of all our organs. For example, the deity of eyes are sun god, right? So different limbs, different senses we have, there are presiding deities. So these deities, when they are presiding deities for the karmis and the jnanis, they just think, okay, I have to clock in 9 o'clock, clock out 5 o'clock, just do my job and get out from here, right? Because, they are not very happy there, as we are not happy at work. And when they are associating with pure devotees, they don't want to leave because of the qualities the pure devotees have. So what dirt we are seeing in the karmis and the jnanis is getting vanquished when they are associating as presiding deities with the pure devotees. And when I was preparing classes for my last year's Narasimhadev seminar, And when I was referring to Srimad Bhagavatam, they also mentioned that the demigods actually want to be the presiding deities and want the association of pure devotees, because they know that wherever the pure devotee is, Krishna is there. So, when we understand that the demigods also have got a very tricky job to do, by one of the aspects is of being presiding deities of the senses, the organs, and the limbs of each one of us, and they also want to pick and choose where their place of residence is. Of course, they can't choose, but they have the heart in some places, and they don't have the heart in some places.
It's said that the demigods are lining up to take birth in the Sankirtan movement.
Yes. Does it make sense what I said, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the Ganga and the Jamuna, they were reluctant to come down here because people would come and they would dump all their sins. They take bath and they're shampooing, and it's just they're being offensive. They're not respecting the personality that they're involved with. So they were encouraged to come down, saying, "Don't worry. When the pure devotees bathe in you, they will relieve you of those sins."
Yes.
Because Krishna and the spiritual master, he takes on the karma of the individuals. It's not as though he takes on the karma. There's some residual reaction there because it's if you're not 100% pure. The spiritual master offers those souls to Krishna by that purification, connection with Krishna. Krishna said that there's a saying, Krishna upholds the words of the Brahmanas. They speak, so Krishna, he's obliged, he's obligated. If somebody will give favour to a particular individual, they will become purified. Krishna will purify them. Krishna goes out of his way. So the devotees, they had Krishna within their grasp. Krishna supporting them. Krishna, there's that mutual relationship. I'm within the heart of the devotees, and the devotees are within my heart. So Krishna and the devotees, they're competing with each other to serve each other. So it's a lovely reciprocal relationship. The demigods, how much work can they do? Somebody is asleep, brains full of stool, and Prabhupada made that comment when he first came to Australia. He was giving class. He asked for questions, and nobody had anything sensible to say, so he leaned to his assistant and he said, "Meatheads." It's a tough place to be. So fortunately, the culture is diversified more now, and the typical Aussie is from so many different backgrounds, and that just broadens the culture. Any other takers on the comment or the questionnaire?
Thank you so much, Vijay. Yesterday, you mentioned, and today as well, the importance of just being there in the association of devotees. Even though we physically may be there, our mind may not be there, but still, just doing that thing of being there. Can you speak a bit more about how important that is in terms of,
Being there, the mosquito on the leg of the king, he's biting him. We shouldn't be a botheration. We should understand how to take the association, how to respect the association, how to not impose ourselves upon devotees who are rare souls, who are vulnerable to contamination, to nasty. If somebody is blaspheming, even subtly, there's three ways to deal with somebody who's got negative thoughts. The first thing is to try and change their mentality. But we all know how difficult it is to change somebody's mentality. One who is convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So difficult. So we should try, and we should offer sweet words and conciliation, and eventually, if that doesn't work, then we should use threats. We should use a stick. So if we can't change their mind, then we should kill ourselves. First we should cut out their tongue, and then we should kill ourselves. That's for the Kshatriyas. it doesn't work in this day and age. But if we can't do that, we should just get away. We should get away. Sometimes you have to resort to killing them because you can't get away. Because they're just demons following you down the street. Hey, you Hare Krishnas, you're going to hell and stuff. So you pray to Lord Nrsimhadev. We were being harassed in the car park once. Somebody was making all that noise. And we heard them go and jump in their car and slam the door. We knew who it was. Demons, they've got a stamp on them. They don't have red eyes and smoke coming out of their mouth, but you can feel their vibe. You're driving along and you cut in on somebody or you do something wrong and you can feel their energy from behind. They're just nasty. So this person who was harassing us in the car park, we just prayed to Lord Nrsimhadev and we heard they drove around the corner and then they had an accident. Krishna took him out. So we don't have the capability to do it ourselves. So we shouldn't tolerate blasphemy like that. So we should be conscious, we should be careful when we do have the opportunity to associate with devotees, that we're thinking favourably. And that the mind's natural default tendency is to be critical. So to counteract the critical thing, we should glorify. You said you shouldn't praise and you shouldn't criticize, but you should glorify in order to counteract that. And in the glorification, then it helps to give a brighter light on the association. And in that association, you can then benefit. You can work together. You can assist each other. It's difficult. It's difficult to associate. Difficult to control the mind. Difficult to feel comfortable and valued because it means sacrifice. It means going out of your way to see what's there in this situation. Bhaktitirtha Swami, he was describing that whenever we are in the association, and then the association can be there physically, or it can be on the phone, it can be via a different medium. Just by reading, we're in touch with Srila Prabhupada. So we should take it that Krishna has arranged. Krishna has put us in this situation. Krishna has brought these circumstances now for us to make spiritual benefit, advancement. The whole Bhagavad Gita is spoken for the benefit of the conditioned soul. Krishna speaks these words for the benefit of the conditioned souls, you and me. So we should understand that whatever situation we're in, that's Krishna's arrangement. And we should try and take advantage of it.
Shruti Dharma Prabhu says very nicely, he says, even showing up is a service.
Showing up.
Showing up.
Showing up, yeah.
When you just come, it's a service.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't show up, you avoid. You could choose to go somewhere else, but just to be there. Even you're feeling lousy. I attended one Rath Yatra from behind the trees and the bushes. I was just so depressed. I didn't want to have anything to do. But I saw the Rath Yatra cart going up from the hill from a distance, and it said if you just stand up as the Rath Yatra cart goes past, and you get liberation. Krishna's so pleased with that endeavour.
Actually, yesterday someone messaged me, who was supposed to do some service, and they said, Prabhu, sorry, I'm not feeling too good, so please excuse me, I won't be able to come, so just letting you know. I said, okay, I hope you feel better soon. And then immediately in 5 minutes time, the person said, actually I'm coming. I just heard a short class from someone else, and they just said, no, even if you're down, just go. And then that devotee came, yeah.
The Prabhupada told his big managers that they'd been working all day in the law courts, and they were just frazzled from having to hear all of those lies and to be exposed to those nasty people. Prabhupada said at the end of such a nasty day, just go and take bath and come to the temple. Dance in kirtan. Just become purified. Just let all of those nasty things, just let them go. And in the kirtan, when you're in the middle of the association of the holy name and the deities and the devotees, or even just kirtan 1 or 2 on your own. There's a lovely devotee in Lithuania. He was looking after the cows. He was a fanatic about the cows. You just couldn't get close to him. He was just fanatic about the cows. He was given the nickname Sukadev because he used to like walking around naked. He was a hippie, and so he got that nickname. But he was saying, if you don't have the facility, you don't have access to a kirtan, you don't have a recording device. You've still got the holy name, you just chant yourself, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Just, yeah, it's there, it's so easy. I was installed in Canberra to try and act like a manager for there for some time. And the GBC told me, if you ever feel bereft of association, just get it. Get on a bus, get on the phone, go and get it, go and be with the devotees. Don't suffer. And often the association's coming, you ignore it, and then you suffer afterwards. You realise that person was going to be able to help me get out of that suffering. You can't attend the Bhagavatam class. What was discussed in Bhagavatam, it was the relevant thing, the relevant situation you were going to have to be confronted with during the day. But you didn't hear it. And at the end of the day you read, why didn't I take notice of that before? But if you've got to do service or you're doing something else, then if you're doing it for Krishna, then you'll get the same benefit as having attended the Bhagavatam class. So everything in connection with Krishna will give us some benefit. So dial that number, reach out, help. Even to ask for help. It's sometimes takes a lot of courage. When we met devotees and they hadn't been anywhere near the temple or anything for 20 years, they felt so guilty. But you just give them a little bit of prasadam and then you ignite that. It's a lifeline. First aid kit. Everybody should always carry their first aid kit with them so they can apply first aid to anybody who's suffering. And everybody is suffering. Everybody is suffering. You've got a body, you're suffering.
There's this devotee, his name is Harinam Ananda Prabhu. He's Kadamba Kanan Maharaj disciple. And he was telling us a story that he was doing Sankirtan somewhere just near Gimpi, or just in that area. And he was doing Harinam, and some people were there. And there was one Mataji Prabhupada disciple who has not been, Srimad devotee for many, many decades. And then she invited, I think there were 2 or 3 devotees together. If you want, you can just stay at my place. And they stayed, and next morning when Harinamanda Prabhu says that when I got up, I saw that the altar was closed. And so he asked Mataji, if you think, can I open the altar? So she said, I have actually not opened the altar for many, many years. And then, he opened, he just probably they together cleaned up the altar and all that. And after that, when they were leaving, the Mataji said, from now on, I will worship them daily. Just one day's association, made such a big difference, and her spiritual life just again came back.
I think that was Krishna Loya Mataji. She was married to Bhaskar, and they were living in Mayapur, and Bhaskar died of cancer early. So
Bhaskar, who was the sculptor.
The sculptor, yeah.
The one with beard. He passed away.
Yeah. Bhaskar. Yeah, he made all of those fancy things that New Govardhan does. So he was in Mayapur.
Yeah.
And
he was the one who also, the Coronita deities here, he was the one, was he?
Coronita deities here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was the one who, he made the mold and, yeah. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, foundational, very, very, very relevant to Bhagavatam. Ram Prasad's brother.
Yes.
Yeah. So he passed away. She was a solid Mataji, and when I saw her, she was like skinny as a rake. Couldn't recognise her. Just the despair. So yeah, and then you in such a state you get into a real funk, a real poo, and you just so. For a devotee to uplift and to shine the light. She's now back in Mayapur. She's doing courses, and she was my boss in Mayapur at one stage. Yeah, amazing. We need devotee association. We need devotee association. And the secret to making spiritual advancement is to seek out advanced association. So anybody can be more advanced in a particular area. And it's just a matter of finding it. Sometimes we don't realise who we're with, and so we're seeing on the surface. So just scratch under the surface a little bit. Oh, Prabhu, can you tell me your realization? And just then we would appreciate again who we're with, and we'll change the quality of the association. It's very good to put the scriptures in the middle. Amoga jumped in the car, and he related how he would get in the car with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada would immediately say, quote me a sloka. So Amoga was saying, quote me a sloka. And it's just, it sets the tone, it creates a different mood. Do you know any slokas? No? Any sloka, just say any sloka. And then that will uplift the tone of the whole interaction.
Yesterday again in the,
Just on that point of the shlokas, I remember in Fiji when we were there, my Guru Maharaj, when he used to have prasadam, then devotees used to sit along with him in the program, and he would make each devotee recite a verse, and after that only they could have prasadam.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. So you want to eat. They said there's two main slokas that devotees need, or that they take advantage of. One is the sloka that you need to help you to go to sleep. That's a cure for insomnia. People, they can't sleep, they've got insomnia, so you need to sleep. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. And the wake up sloka? Okay. When's Prashad? Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Pramananda. I'm a morning person, not an evening person.